All right, so it's like opening day, right? I mean,
Yes.
Fight week is fight week, but I feel like this is different. Like you're starting a season, right?
Yes.
So what's that feel like when you're not just like getting ready for a fight, you're getting ready for a season?
Yeah, it's pretty cool because you know the schedule already, right? We know the schedule. As broadcasters, the fighters know that too, right? So it very much does feel like first kickoff of an NFL season, opening day in Major League Baseball, tip-off for the NBA. It's really cool, and it's, I think, unique in the sport, and I'm really happy to be part of it again, obviously. Still don't know where our playoff events and our championship are going to be, which is like, you know, a little Christmas present when we get to open those. So looking forward to all of it, looking forward to whatever those surprises are. And there's storylines all over the place on this card and on the ones coming up. So
Talk about it as a fighter. Like obviously you're a broadcaster now, but as a fighter, I mean, like the opportunity, chasing $1 million. I mean, that day when you open up your bank account that day and you see like, you know what I mean, that $1 million is in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, it's not like it means you never have to work again in your
Right.
life, but it is literally like life changing, right?
No, it absolutely is. It's different, right? You can look at a different kind of house. You can start planning on different kind of vacations. You can hopefully, you know, have a more realistic picture of what your life is going to be like for the next 5 years instead of like, oh, I hope I have a job, whatever, right? If you're smart with it, you can make $1 million work for you for a very long time if you invest it properly. And that's probably the thing that was most significant for me was like, okay, now I have a nice little nest egg. I can make some big things happen for myself. And I was about to be a dad for the first time. My wife was still pregnant when that check came through, right? So I was like, okay, even if I screw some things up, I think we'll be all right. And that security is nice. And it's pretty rare still in the sport of mixed martial arts.
That's awesome. So as you're progressing through a season as a fighter, like, I mean, are you thinking about that, or is it wise not to think about that? Like, what's the play?
I thought about it the whole way. I was thinking about $1 million on my first fight. I was thinking about $1 million on the playoff fights where we were still doing 2 in one night. And obviously going into the championship, you know, Vinny on my back in the first round, I'm thinking about $1 million. I really was, because you can't view it like any other fight, right? Everyone does this in sports. They say, oh, this is just another game for me. This is just another fight for me. No, it's not. I never had fought for $1 million before. I had never fought for anything close to $1 million before. Your PFL debut or your UFC debut is not just another fight, right? Your championship fight in one of those organizations is not just another fight. Pretending like it is the wrong thing to do, in my opinion. I thought about it the whole way.
That's amazing. So, all right, let's talk about this tournament this year, light heavyweight. Shoeface obviously comes in, you know, runs through the tournament. Is he the favorite again? I mean, is that how you look at it? Like, the guy is the reigning champion. Is he the favorite again?
That's a great question, actually. I don't think it's that simple in any of these weight classes. And you know, he was excellent last year. Things also worked out in a way that he probably didn't get the best Emiliano Sortie that we've seen, right? Emiliano was coming off injury and COVID. I don't want to give an excuse, and I certainly don't want to take any credit away from Shoeface's victory, because he fought well and he fought a largely stand-up battle against the guy who's known for that, right? So tons of respect to him for being the champion, but it's not like, you know, when you're the incumbent and you just take on one challenger at a time. Does he have the skill set, the luck, the health, all that stuff to be the favorite again with some of the new faces and the new names on the roster? We'll see. With Martin Hamlet with another year, I mean, that guy, he fought in the championship. That was his 10th pro fight. So now that he's got another year of training, he knows what he did wrong. He knows not to make that same mistake again. We'll see.
You mentioned the new faces. Shoeface is facing one of those new faces in Dellin. Like, I haven't seen a lot of tape on this guy, but like on paper, he looks pretty damn ridiculous. Yeah. How much tape have you seen? And like, this dude looks like the real deal, right?
Yeah, probably not much more tape than you've seen, right? That's one of the interesting things about the additions to the PFL roster is you jump into a season with these guys, and if you're fighting Anthony Pettis, you can go back and watch his entire catalog, right? If you're fighting someone new, you've got to hope that they've got something out there on YouTube and that you can draw some conclusions from that. Like some of these guys, the best tape on them is from 4 or 5 years ago, right? They've been active since then, but just through COVID and all that mess, there wasn't a lot of. So anyway, I like the surprises, right? And we've had surprises. I mean, the biggest story in our league, one of the biggest stories in our league is Ray Cooper III. Ray Cooper III was a massive surprise when he showed up, right? Everyone's just like, oh, Jake Shields is going to beat this cat. And what has happened since? he's emerged as one of the best welterweights in the world. So the surprises are cool. I'm looking forward to some.
Dude, you touched on Sortie as well. I wonder, like, where do you think his relevance is at this point? I mean, like, obviously he's had dominance, didn't really have the results last season, but do you feel like that was kind of an anomaly and, like, we need to look at him as a real factor this year?
Yeah, one thing that we don't do properly in mixed martial arts and in combat sports in general is take into account things like injury and things like illness the way that we do with every other sport. You're like, oh, this guy missed half of an NBA season because he's injured. And you say, it's unfortunate, but you don't talk about, oh, well, he's not a good player anymore because of that, right? You just say, he was injured. That's what Sortie, I really believe that's what Sortie was dealing with, right? He was coming off injury, he was coming off illness. Those two things combined, you go back to that, I guess it was 2019 season, right? He was a top 10 light heavyweight in the world fighting like that. Should he get back to that? We'll see.
Last thing I have for you. I mean, look, you're a UFC vet. I mean, you get it. You understand the landscape, right? There's a lot of MMA out there. It's tough to ask people for more time, whatever. But this is a midweek fight. It's on ESPN. It's not hard to fight. But I guess for people that maybe people haven't given the PFL a chance, or maybe they're like, I don't know. Like, why would you tell people like, no, this needs to be part of your viewing schedule?
Well, the format is different, and I believe in the format wholeheartedly, not just because I won the first season and won $1 million.
I believe in the format.
Right?
I got $1 million too.
Yeah. The format gave me $1 million, so you should believe in it too. No, I mean, look, you're familiar as a sports fan with a season format, right? You hit the reset button every year in the PFL, and every one of these fighters today, before any fights happen, have an equal chance at winning $1 million at the end of the year. That's unique in this sport. That's unique in a lot of sports, right? That's a new landscape. And we talked about the surprises before. You don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea. I have no idea who the real true favorites should be. No one thought Raush Manfio, who's fighting tomorrow night, was going to be $1 million champion last year. Not one person thought that except for Raush Manfio, right? There's a time in mixed martial arts, and this is true of every star, where you didn't know who they were. There was a time where none of us knew who Anderson Silva was, where none of us knew who Conor McGregor was, where none of us knew who John Bones was, and where are those individuals at now? You can watch the start of that for some people in the PFL. Kayla Harrison, when she fought for us the first time, was known only to judo players, only to judo Olympic fans. That's like 9 people total, right? Now she's one of the biggest stars in the sport. The PFL is that stage and is that platform for a lot of these people. And if you're a fan of mixed martial arts, you shouldn't miss it.